everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you happen to be stopping by for the first time, maybe you may have saw my videos somewhere in your YouTube timeline and you decided to click on it to see, let me see what this girl is all about. Then thank you so much for being here. My name is Donella and this is my world of beauty here on YouTube. As you can tell from the title of this video, this tutorial is actually by special request. There was actually another series I wanted to incorporate during the month of October, but decided to kind of push that back further down, maybe further down this year or maybe the beginning of next year. So right now I'm doing a series called By Special Request, and I know a number of persons have been asking me to do an eyebrow tutorial on my channel for some time now. I don't know why I haven't done one yet, because I feel like everybody's style of doing the eyebrows is different, so I never really paid much attention to it. Maybe now and then in my tutorials I would speak briefly on the products that I use, etc. But this video is going to be a full in-depth breakdown. I actually do my eyebrows, so if you are interested in seeing that, then please stay tuned. Now, first things first, we are going to talk about the tools that we actually need to get the perfect eyebrow shape. Now this tool, or I should say product, is something that I've been using since I started doing makeup. It's the MAC Studio Fix Concealer and Correct Palette. It is in the shade dark. I think there's a fair, medium, dark, and I think they actually just introduced another one last year, which would be deep dark, that has those really deep shades, for persons who are more on the deep dark spectrum. Yeah, they have that, but I always just buy the dark because this actually suits well with my skin tone. And then I have the others, I have two others inside of my makeup bag that I use on my clients, but dark actually suits my skin's complexion perfectly, so I always buy the color. I like to use this palette is because you can play up with so many different colors, especially if you have dark under eye, dark circles, if you have dark circles, acne scars, you can use the correct colors down here to correct those mistakes up here, to mix and match and get the shade that you want. I actually do that. The only color I don't find myself using a lot is, of course, this deep dark shade here, but the other three I find myself playing up a lot with them, especially when it comes to correcting the darkness underneath my eyes and sculpting on my eyebrows. I would use maybe a different shade to the top and a different shade to the bottom, but we're going to go into all of that during the tutorial. I just wanted to talk briefly about the tools that you would need. Now, in some cases, persons aren't able to buy a full concealer palette. If you're not able to do that, concealer palette is not something that you would actually need. I mean, there are several different brands that carry concealer palettes. However, from my experience over the years, I realized that MAC is just the best one on the market. I'm sorry, I can't bite my tongue to say it. MAC actually has some products that no one could actually beat, and that concealer and correct palette is definitely one of them. About concealers, now let's talk about the tools that you're going to need if you're going to be filling in your eyebrows. Now, some persons actually love the dip brows or the brow gels, or whatever you want to call it. One of the most popular ones on the market right now is the one from Anastasia Beverly Hills. If I'm not mistaken, the one from Anastasia Beverly Hills and the one from MAC is actually both on the same level. You find a lot of persons using either or. I don't use dip brows, so I actually don't own any right now. I do carry one in my makeup kits every now and then, but I find more persons prefer the pencil to buy it ever so often. It's not something that I would replenish often, so right now I don't have it, but I do have a ton of different pencils. So if you're okay with the dip brow and you feel like you're comfortable with using a dip brow to fill in your eyebrows and that's your cup of tea, then fine. Those of us who prefer pencils, then you can get whatever pencil that you're comfortable with. Personally, I love this one from Fenty, which is it's like a smudge proof pencil, and it has like a brush, well, not like a brush, it has a toothbrush like brush on one end, and then of course on the other end is a pencil. Or if you prefer the drugstore brand pencil, if you're more of an old school person, because I tend to reach for those every now and then as well, then you can go in with a regular pencil. The next couple of tools would be brushes, of course. Now I have 3 brushes, and there's a reason why I have 3 brushes. This one is actually a dual brush. This has a spoolie on one end and an angle brush on one end, which is what I use to dip out the concealer to sculpt up my eyebrows. And then I have this brush, this deluxe crease brush from Real Technique. I actually use to blend out the concealer. And the third brush I have is this base shadow brush. Now it is a base shadow brush, and there are times where I actually use this to help blend out. Like in some cases I feel like this doesn't actually get everything blended out the way I want it to blend out, and sometimes I switch to this one, or sometimes when I just want to set the concealer in, I find that this brush actually works well. So I'm just explaining it briefly so you guys could get an understanding of how I do my eyebrows. This video is going to be very talkative, so bear with me. You guys say you want an in-depth eyebrow tutorial, so this is how it works. You have to be very, very patient and allow me to explain everything. Now if you're basically a quote-unquote eyebrow veteran, and then you should know that there are different tools that you can use. Some persons prefer a dual brush. Some persons prefer to have the spoolie brush by itself, and then whatever angle of concealer brush by itself. Some persons like the angled brush. For instance, I prefer the angled brush. Some persons prefer the more round tip. I find when I started makeup first, I prefer the round tip, but over the years I find that I'm more comfortable with using the angled tip brush. And I just was like, hey, let me just get dual brush and done. Let me just switch and turn from one side to the next instead of me having to reach for another brush. So that's my comfort zone. Everybody has to find their comfort zone. If you're okay with the double angled brush, then do that. If you're okay with switching brushes, then do that. And then finally, the last product I'm going to talk about before we go into the tutorial is powder. Persons have really, really full eyebrows, which doesn't require a dip brow and doesn't require filling in with a pencil. Just require a small touch of powder, maybe in between, just maybe if you see a little bit of space, to just fill that in, and then maybe add a clear brow gel. There are brow gels as well. Some persons don't use powder, they use brow gels as well, and then they're okay with that. That's for persons who have really, really full eyebrows and they're not comfortable with adding maybe a pencil or a powder or a dip brow to it, because they feel like it's just going to make the eyebrow look even bigger. There are those tools that are around as well. For some time on my channel, you guys know that because I have oily skin, after I use the pencil, my preference, of course, if you're new here, is the pencil. Then I go in with this shadow, because this is actually a shadow, and fill in the areas to kind of basically set the pencil in place so it lasts throughout the course of the day. All right, so now that I've explained all the tools and all the tools you would need to get you through this tutorial, then let's just jump straight into makeup. Right, there was this concealer pot from MAC that I was obsessed with, because I only used to use the concealer palette on my clients. It was a pot just like this one from NYX, or maybe just like this one from Kevyn Aucoin, and it's basically the same smooth texture. It just all depends on your comfort level, which one you're okay with. Personally, if I use either the cream or the liquid concealers, it doesn't really matter to me. That nice smooth creamy consistency, I could work with practically any concealer, whether it be a liquid concealer or a creamy potted concealer. It doesn't really matter, as long as it's creamy enough and it actually blends out well, I can work with it. Okay, so I'm going to start off by brushing out my hair, putting them in place. By the way, if you want perfectly shaped eyebrows, please remember to either tweeze, wax, or trim your eyebrows. Mine looking kind of crazy right now because I'm growing them out, but so I don't want to trim them. But normally, whenever you trim your eyebrows, never ever 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 go on top and mess with your natural edge, because if you do that, then your eyebrows are just going to lay flat. You want that edge, because whenever you're filling in your eyebrows, you want to be able to follow that edge to have the perfect or near perfect eyebrow when you're done. So for this tutorial, I'm going to go in with a drugstore brand pencil. I'm sure everybody's seen these in the beauty supply stores we have here. It's this media, this very short pencil from Gabriella. It's a dark brown. They have different shades, so you have to really pay attention. This one is dark brown. First things first is that you actually want to draw a line below your eyebrows. So that's what you, let me see if I could actually zoom in a little bit further with this. Yes, the thing I do is take my pencil and draw a line to the bottom portion of my brow, and I actually pay close attention to the actual shape of my brow. I kind of lay the pencil flat so the line I create isn't too harsh, so I'm able to kind of sketch it just like that. And because I actually know when I'm looking down, it doesn't look like it's arch, but once I look up, you could see that I went up into my natural arch and then I came down again. Now because I do my eyebrows practically every day, I already know where to stop. So I already know I need to stop here. If I go down any further, I might look a little bit kind of crazy. Now what I normally do is go over on the other side. Now if you're new to this, or if you're not really sure, if you're having problems angling your eyebrows and making sure that both of them is the same height, width, everything, then this is something that I do. I actually just do like this. This is something I used to do when I first started doing my eyebrows. I just make sure that a line is lined up with the one on the right, and it should, because they're both basically on the same angle, but some persons actually can't see that like right away, so you need to probably draw maybe like a small line, and that's fine. This as long as you remember to do this afterwards to get rid of that line. And then I'm just going to do the same thing, do light sketches, go up to create my arch and then come straight back down, and I already know exactly where to stop. And now if you're not really certain as to where you need to stop, it's why I did this. You take your pencil or your brush, whichever tool you have in your hand at the time, and you just basically measure like this. It's almost like what shape is this in math? Is it a 180-degree angle? Yeah, I think that's it. And then you just realize, okay, I don't need to go any further, it's right there. And then we go to the top. Now this tutorial for me is very, very simple, but I know some persons, if you're doing this for the first time, or if you tried before and you haven't really gotten it, you tend to give up. But if you want to be absolutely perfect at something, you have to keep trying. So it will apply to this top. I actually start from where my hair ends right here, and then I lightly start drawing a line, and then I stop by the arch just to make sure. I kind of look up, because sometimes when you're looking down the mirror, the line looks straight, but then when you look up, you're like, oh, looking at the mirror in front of you, like, oh, that line ain't straight. And then what you want to do is now go down so that this line on top touches the line that you created at the bottom, and when they connect, you have that shape. Now some persons like big eyebrows, some persons are okay with the natural shape of the eyebrows, some persons want to make it a little bit smaller. Whatever your preference is, just make sure that both eyebrows are the same width and the same length. Now the same rule applies for when you are drawing the top line over here. This is something that I used to do when I first started, because I couldn't get both of them to line up. I used to create a line right here, and then I go over and do the same thing. Now some persons are able to just draw a line, but I'm just showing you it's possible for you to sketch the line. You don't have to draw the full thing. You lay the pencil flat and you just start basically sketching. You make sure you go up so that you make sure that you go up to where your arch is supposed to be, and then you come down and have those two lines meet right there. Now after you've done this, remember to do this, because you don't want those two lines to show up afterwards. Now that you have your eyebrows sculpted out to the shape that you want, then you go in with your pencil to fill it in, or if you prefer a shadow or a powder, whichever one you want to call it. I prefer to go in with a pencil first and then a powder after. So I'm just going to lay the pencil flat, and I'm going to start right here at where my arch, at where I created my arch, and fill that. Now for the arch area, I like to start from the top to fill that in, and then afterwards when I get a little bit closer, then I start flicking from the bottom just like this so that I give the illusion of the pencil being here. And then if I see maybe a little spot right here, I kind of lay the pencil flat and fill that in right there. After I've done that and I feel like it's getting a little bit too dark, then I go in with my spoolie and just basically start to brush the pencil into place or over the areas where I feel like, okay, do I need more pencil, or is that good enough? If I feel like I need more pencil, then I go back in again, because I'm seeing, you know, a little bit of skin right here. Then I go back in again to basically fill in the areas, just like that. And I go back in again from the bottom and flick it upwards. Switch my tools again, go back to my spoolie and blend it upwards. Now you want to blend upwards because you want the pencil and your natural eyebrow here to meet, so that everything meshes well together, so to speak. As you're using your pencil or your shadow or powder to fill in your eyebrows, you just gradually go back and forth with your spoolie and your pencil, because once you're filling in and you're brushing everything into place, maybe you might see a spot that actually needs a little bit more pencil, or maybe a little bit more pomade or something like that. It's just actually it's just all about your preference. Personally, I prefer a more natural looking eyebrow, so I don't really go in too heavy with my pencil. I still like to see a little bit of skin in between so that it looks more like my eyebrow, you know. If you're doing this for the first time, eventually over time you're going to create your own signature way in how you fill in your eyebrows, your preference, whether you want it to be your regular eyebrow size, or whether you want it to be a little bit bigger, or you want it to be a little bit smaller, you want it to look really thick, or if you want it to look more like a natural eyebrow. Okay, so for this tutorial I'm going to be using the Mac Studio what is it called? The Mac Studio Fix the Mac Studio Fix Conceal and Correct palette. Oh Jesus Christ. Now the shades that are in this palette is NC, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, this NC45, wait, I think I do it, yeah, NC45, NW45, NC50, and NW55. Ooh, God, yes. And then of course this is this yellow shade is called Ochre, and this one is called Pure Orange. These are basically used as correctors for persons who need a bit of correct. I normally go in with NC50 to do my eyebrows. Now I dip the angle brush in, and then I like to just kind of tap out the excess on the back of my hand, and then I go in right here. I don't start at the actual beginning. I like to start somewhere in the middle basically, and then I just gradually draw the line. Now if you're not comfortable with drawing a line all the way over, you can always do the sketch thing as well. You can always just sketch and sketch and sketch until you reach all the way over. But I'm okay with doing the line all the way over because, yeah, I've had plenty of years to practice, so I can do that. And then I bring the other line all the way over right here, just like that with the NC50, and then I gradually drag it downwards like this. You want to drag it downward to meet. You want to drag it downwards so that it's easier to blend. Downwards is like the perfect way for you to get all of this concealer blended out immediately. Now there's no rule as to which eyebrow you need to do first. If you're comfortable with doing this one first, then do this one first. But I find that the angle on this one, you guys could see better in the camera, so I'm doing my left eyebrow on camera, and then I could just randomly run through this one real quick because I don't have to speak off camera. Next I'm going to go into the concealer palette once again, and I'm going to go up into NW45 and a bit of NC50. I like to actually mix my concealers when I'm doing my eyebrows. Take both. I'm going to take that mix and basically drag, just like how I was sketching out my eyebrows. I draw that line first, and then I go downwards so that, and then I go downwards so that both of these, the bottom and the top concealer, actually meet. Now in some instances I like to go back up again into my arch if I feel like, hey, the tail part of it is looking a little bit too fat for me, I need it to thin out some more. Then I would actually go up like that and blend it out, and then I take this same angle brush and lay it flat and start blending the excess concealer upwards, so that when I apply my concealer, sorry, not my concealer, my foundation, the excess concealer blends into the foundation. Now this is where the actual brushes actually come in. So I'm going to take this crease brush and just use it to blend out the excess concealer in a circular motion, just like this. Of course, I go underneath, same circular motion, and blend that out. Going until you get everything blended out. Back and forth with this until you get everything blended out. Now in some cases I don't necessarily get everything blended out with this, so I kind of switch to this small brush, sorry, this small sponge from ColourPop, and then I just use it to blend out the excess concealer, because sometimes the brush doesn't get everything out and I really don't like to see that heavy concealer cream on my eye. So I go in with a brush, sorry, a sponge, and blend that out just like that. In some cases I do get it blended out with just the brush alone, but I feel like because I'm talking through this, I'm overusing my products right now. I honestly feel so. That's just how I feel. Circular motions. No, I didn't want to do this pad off camera because I wanted you guys to see exactly how I blend out, because whenever you're done doing your eyebrows, they always have this really weird square shape, especially if you use concealer to really sculpt it in. You always see this really weird boxy shape. So what I do, I take this really round circular crease brush, and while I'm doing this, I'm blending out the excess concealer at the top and at the bottom. I'm making sure that I don't add anything else on the brush. Then what I would do is go the bottom of this one, because this one is always the most obvious, and then I just blend it out just like that. So you see it's already starting to look a lot more like here, it's starting to look a lot more natural, etc. Then of course I go in with my spoolie to basically brush the hair back in place and make sure that everything is nice and tidy, and I go over on the other side and do the same thing. So I'm just basically going around in circular motion to remove the excess pencil, etc., excess concealer that is on the brush, to basically brush the front portion of my eyebrow here in place and make it look a little bit more like I go inwards maybe about an inch, just to make sure that yeah, the front portion of this looks like actual here, and yeah, it looks like natural here. And then I just go back and forth with my spoolie to place the hair back in place, and then I go back and forth to make sure I blend out all of this concealer right here. Now I actually think I overuse my concealer in this tutorial. I don't know why. Normally I don't use this much concealer, but I think I did it just for filming purposes, so you guys could see that even if you overuse the product, it's actually quite possible for you to, you know, wheel it back in. After you've done that, this is where the other brush comes in. Now I think I'm going to use the sample size NC50 matte powder, and this always throw me off because let me show you guys. In my compact Studio Fix pressed powder, the NC50 looks like this, but in the sample size, the NC50 looks like this. So I'm like, okay, what is it? You know? So I started using the sample size to basically set the concealer that's underneath my eye in place. Okay, I have the brush turned around and I pat it first, just like that, and then I blend it in. And this is for days like these when you know you could hardly do anything, you can't wear any full, you could barely wear a full face of makeup because you know you have to put on a mask. This trick actually comes in really handy for these days. You know, if you have to go to work and you still want, you know, only this portion of your face is going to be showing, then this trick actually comes in really handy. I like to do this because I know I have oily skin, and you know my eyebrows tend to look a little bit waxy throughout the course of the day, so I just like to put this a little bit of powder to help keep and set that bit of concealer. And then you move on basically to doing the rest of your face. So let me do the rest of my face and I'll be back to give my final thoughts. So I am back, and yes, I just did a little small beat here and put on any lashes because I am going to take this off as soon as this. I didn't feel like wasting my lash glue. I don't have anywhere to go today, so yeah, even if I did, I think I still would have probably taken off the makeup. Anyway, this is the completed look. I feel like when you have on such quote-unquote heavy eyebrows, it looks it ties in much better when you have on shadow and you complete the rest of your face. When you just have on the eyebrows by itself, it just looks like way too, you know, it's just way too out. One step I actually didn't film, which is using this single pot shadow to fill in the spaces between my eyebrows. You guys have seen me done that many times in my past tutorials, so I felt like I could have just skipped that out, especially since I talked so much throughout this video. You know, you guys say you wanted it in depth, so I went in depth. I don't think I could go any further deeper into that, or I might end up, I don't think I could have gone any further. I think I actually explained every single step, you know, minus that one step, which you guys have seen me done many times. But I'm thankful that I actually sat down and I took the time out to film an eyebrow tutorial, and hopefully you guys did enjoy it and you learned a thing or two. By the way, if you have any questions about it, if you have any questions about the tutorial or any other general makeup questions, please be sure to drop me a comment down in the comment section, you know, and ask your question. And also, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please be sure to go ahead and click the subscribe button on your way out. Thank you guys so much for being here with me, and the fact that, you know, I was just feeling so bummy today. I did not feel like taking my hair down, and I have all my hairs in these big mama plaits. I decided to put two out because I felt like it would carry my big forehead off. I think it looks okay. You know, with my hoops and everything. Yeah. Okay, I feel myself a little bit too much. Let me just end this video. Thank you guys so much for being here with me, and I'll talk to you guys real soon on my next by request video, which will be next week. So I'll talk to you guys real soon on my next video. Bye bye.